are dead, and the grim task of identifying the dead is just beginning.
Behind me, you can see the bright banks of emergency lights that have been set up along the path that marks the place where Flight 191 came to Earth and virtually disintegrated on impact. We are among professionals here tonight. The area is secure. It is all roped off. There are no idle curious to be seen in this area tonight. We have police and fire rescue crews, civil defense people, people from the Red Cross who are trying to help out wherever they can. And the search, the grim search for bodies continues. Also among that crowd, people from the agencies that are trying to determine what happened. I have spent this day as witness to a tragedy, the dimensions of which are really difficult to comprehend. When I arrived here, the twisted, broken pieces of an aircraft that represented the highest state of aviation technology lay scattered and burning in this open field. The mobilization of emergency crews was certainly impressive. Anyone who was here would certainly agree with that. But there were some problems. Getting water to the site was difficult, but there was so little left of the DC-10 after impact that water would not likely have made a significant difference anyway. The medical personnel waited for the opportunity to offer their skills to comfort the survivors, but they could do nothing, for it was soon determined that there were no survivors. Little numbered flags were used to mark the spot where the passengers' bodies were found, but then quickly they ran out of flags and they had to replace them with wood stakes. And then the task of recovery began. One by one, teams of firemen and other rescue personnel carrying the remains out to waiting vans and ambulances. And that's the work that is continuing here at the scene. All of these emergency personnel quite dedicated to the task, highly professional people, but of course touched by the emotion of this day and this night. Just a few minutes ago, there were two large helicopters circling over. They have just landed. They may be the government personnel, that catastrophic team for the National Air Safety Transportation Organization. They had been expected to arrive here at about 9 o'clock tonight. We believe that we will see some of them moving out among the debris shortly. They, of course, will be here for days and days trying to put together the pieces of this tragic puzzle. They are still taking bodies out every few minutes. The firemen are still here. Behind me, you can't see it now, there are still 5 or 6 large police vans that have been taking the bodies to that temporary morgue. Fahey and Joe?
Jim, American Airlines 191 was scheduled to take off shortly before 3 o'clock this afternoon. It was directed to and cleared to take off runway 32 right, 10,000 feet of concrete. With the wind blowing basically out of the north at 30 knots, the big plane had a stiff quartering crosswind. According to witnesses, the plane made an unusually long takeoff roll, and with less than 1/3 of the runway remaining and the plane committed to takeoff, the left engine dropped off and skidded across to the right side of the runway. When I flew over this scene shortly after the accident, what appeared to me to be the engine and part of the cowling was on the right side of the runway with a trail of debris in between. The controller radioed, American 191, do you want to come back? And if so, what runway do you want? American 191, no answer. Unable to abort at this point, the crew tried and obviously failed to maintain control. Now, this will give you some idea of the size and construction of the equipment that failed today. But DC-10s have a demonstrated ability to fly with one engine out or even gone, and crews are regularly rehearsed in the emergency procedure. Whether controls were disabled when that engine ripped away is only speculation tonight, to be answered perhaps by the flight recorder, which has been recovered in the debris. But clearly, the pilot ran out of altitude, airspeed, and luck all at the same time, and with the right engine still generating maximum power, the plane cartwheeled to the left, hit nose first, and with 79,000 pounds of fuel aboard, simply disintegrated in a fireball. Ironically, the plane crashed, Fahey, in the only open space for miles is the site of the old Ravenswood Airport.
She supposedly was on a plane just before this one to Phoenix. Her father has checked, and she is not of record on that plane. I'm wanting to find out if she's on this thing.
Some people didn't have to call American Airlines to see if their friends or relatives were aboard Flight 191. These people were the families and friends who just hours before had seen passengers off on the doomed flight. They had never left the airport and were now going to American's VIP lounge to seek what comfort they could from the airline.
What it is it's really a place of solace and comfort. Relatives who hadn't returned to their homes were coming out here, and the priests were called. The Salvation Army volunteered to come in to give assistance, and really it's just solace and comfort at this point.
These are people who knew for a fact?
Knew for a fact, right.
So these are people who saw these relatives off or friends at the airport?
Right.
Meanwhile, the airport continues to function. Earlier in the day, the people right here had no idea of what happened at O'Hare. Tonight, though, everyone seems to be aware of the tragedy. Vivian Rosenberg, Channel 7, Eyewitness News.
And although the crash spared no lives aboard the plane, the tragedy for residents of the nearby trailer park miraculously confined to the physical devastation of some of their homes.
Fahey, I have done stories out here at the Oasis Mobile Home Park before, but the concern was for fire protection from the nearby oil tank farms. The residents out here have lived with the threat of O'Hare. This afternoon, perhaps by the grace of God or a pilot who veered away from their homes, several thousand people were spared, and we apologize for the lack of color on this tape. Cardinal Cody could only say a prayer for the souls of the victims of Flight 191. But for residents of the Oasis Mobile Home Park, there were prayers of thanks that the plane crash touched only one part of the 400-unit complex. As horrible as this tragedy is, this shows how much worse it could have been. This is a part of the DC-10 plane. It came roaring through into this trailer court, the Oasis trailer court. 2 weeks ago, there was a trailer in this spot. It was vacant. This is where this portion of the plane came through. As it was, it set 3 trailers on fire. The people who were inside the mobile home hit the hardest: 79-year-old Mary Bielski and her 80-year-old husband, John. Neighbors gave them shelter until Red Cross workers arrived.
But I was shaving. I just got out of the bed, told my wife, you go in the kitchen, I go in the washroom, shave myself. Got my razor, put on the sink, lather my face, and ready to take the razor, then boop, up in the air I went. That good. Once I had to shave the other side, not shaved.
It knocked you over, did it, sir?
Oh, did it knock me?
Did the policeman help you out?
No, I had the hand. I was right by the washing machines. Crap.
You've lost everything, sir, but you have your life.
Oh, I lost everything.
Bielski's grandson, Dan, ran all the way from Park Ridge to the mobile home after he heard of the crash. Tonight, he showed me a charred strongbox that contained the burned life savings of the couple, $900. Donna Freer lived on the other side of the Bielski's mobile home.
I heard what I thought was a plane in trouble, and then I just stopped everything and listened, and a big explosion, and the mobile home just shook, just like it was going to come down. And after that, I ran out, I grabbed my baby and ran out of the house, and the black smoke was so bad that you just couldn't see anything, and we knew it was a plane right away.
What are your thoughts about staying here?
Well, you do what you have to do, you know.
What about the pilot? There may be the case that he veered it away, and it could have been so much worse.
Oh, yes, it could have been. It could have been much worse. You have to be thankful for what you think is a disaster. Really, if this airplane had come into this trailer park, the disaster would be millions of times worse.
We are live right now. The response to this was instantaneous from all over the suburban areas and in Chicago. The coordination among emergency units that I saw, calm, collected, very professional. The men are still working hard. The reality of this will not dawn on them for perhaps weeks to come. In San Diego, where the tragedy occurred, many people who were on the crash site are now in psychoanalysis. It's a horrible, grim scene. As I speak right now, as you can see behind me, the wagons are coming and going with the remains, taking them away from here. This is the situation. It has been this way all night. With the emergency people who are trained to react with great speed, there was not that necessity because everyone was dead. It was a matter of standing by, coordinated effort to do this grim task of bringing bodies together, putting them in the wagons, and taking them and clearing the site and marking it for investigation. But that's the situation live. Joel?
Now we have news about the people waiting at the other end of this tragedy. It is a tale of two cities, and those are the people at Los Angeles International Airport. We go now to our sister station in Los Angeles, KABC TV.
This is Jim Mitchell at Los Angeles International Airport. Friends and relatives arriving to meet passengers aboard American Flight 191 were met by this ominous message on the television screen in the terminal. They were escorted by American Airlines personnel to what the airlines called a sympathy room, isolated from the rest of the Memorial Day holiday traffic. Airlines personnel kept the vigil with them behind guarded doors as the long waiting process began, waiting for the list of names to be sent from Chicago, each one painstakingly checked.
People are very sad. It's a very somber, sober area in there, and which you could certainly expect.
While many continued to arrive at the airport, many who heard the news on radio and television didn't come. For those, American Airlines began to make the notification by telephone. The names of all the passengers and crew members on the flight list will not be released to the public until